Anyone can build a boring rectangle, but why do that when you could build something a little bit cooler? These are the rule breakers, and it's more than just a pretty box. They use this interesting piece of tech right here. This is a balanced mode radiator, or a BMR. We'll talk more about that after we cut a few curves. How do you even make curves? Well, it turns out there are several ways to do it. One common trick is called kerfing. Kerf is the term for the wood that a saw blade removes when it cuts through the material. And it turns out you can use the blade to notch out some material and then bend the wood. You will find that kerfing is very tricky. It's hard to get the depth of cut dialed in just right. Too deep and the wood snaps when you try to bend it, too shallow when it just won't bend. An alternative to kerfing is a method called stack fab. You build a bunch of shapes and then stack them together to give you the enclosure. The trick is finding an efficient way to cut out your shapes, which is why I invested in a big CNC machine. This thing makes curves easy. You just draw them in the software and then sit back and let the machine do the work. And for a project like this that needs a lot of layers, a CNC machine comes in really handy. For example, each layer has 8 1/4-inch holes for a wooden dowel. There's going to be 9 layers per enclosure and 3 enclosures. If you're doing the math, you've got to drill 216 holes in precise locations. No, you don't need an expensive CNC machine. Yes, you can drill those by hand. Just get ready because it's going to take a while. Check this out. The CNC is in pecking mode. It's going to drill down about 1/8 of an inch, then fully retract to clear the debris, and then drill down an additional 1/8 of an inch before fully retracting again. It'll keep repeating that until it clears all the way through the material. While the machine's working, let's talk about some other ways that you can cut curves if you don't have a CNC. The most common method is template routing, where you purchase templates like these and then use them to build various shapes. You don't have to buy the templates. You can make your own with a circle jig and a few straight edges. Or if you have a laser, you can laser cut your own templates. For that matter, you can cut the parts with a laser. Unfortunately, the CNC does not 100% free you up from the router. When you cut the pieces on the CNC, you'll need to leave tabs to hold everything together. If you don't, pieces will go flying, your CNC will crash, it will ruin your project. Don't ask me how I know. I found the best way to clean up the tabs is to flush trim them with a router bit. It only takes a few seconds to zip off those tabs and clean them up with a router. What I do is put on some hearing protection and let the CNC work on the next project while I take care of these things. Now it's time to assemble the stack. Grab some wood glue. Any brand you want to use is fine. Use the 1/4-inch holes to insert dowels and tack everything together with brad nails. All right, so here is a potential issue. The original plans actually called for a thin 1/4-inch piece on the outside. I didn't do that. I cut a recess instead with the CNC. And now I got to stick this veneer on it. And then I got to trim it out. Okay, easy enough. Flush trim bit on a router, trim it out. But that little lip right there is going to be impossible to flush trim on a router. You're going to have to use a knife. I've found, after doing this quite a while, that sucks. It's not fun. It's hard to get it right. And I'm thinking, what if I put the veneer down first and then let the CNC do the trimming? I'm going to cover these speakers with a walnut veneer, and I'm going to use heat lock adhesive to stick the veneer to the substrate. It's a pretty straightforward process. You just grab the glue, grab a roller, slicer up both pieces, and then wait at least 30 minutes before you steal your wife's iron and use it to iron on the veneer. I've had really good luck with this product in the past. I just finished a cool subwoofer build using this stuff. I'll make sure to give you a link to it down in the video description. here's the result. Problem here is my only 1/8 inch bit is an upcut bit, not a downcut bit. Now, upcut bits are cool because they'll throw the waste, the sawdust, up and out of the way, up and into the dust collection, but they leave this fuzz on the outside. So my nice veneer is now all fuzzified. And I think I should be able to fix that with some sandpaper. I've got to get that fuzz off to get the tweeter to fit. Sandpaper seems to be doing the trick. I'll work on that. Be back in a minute. All right, there we go. I actually did a test fit before and it wouldn't go in the hole.
That's what she said.
And it's a little snug, so if I could have made that outline just a smidge bigger, it would have been better because it's a really tight, I don't know if I can get it out without breaking it. There we go. Cool. All right, so the next thing on the list is to attach the baffle to the rest of the stack. Be careful when you do this. You don't want to get any wood glue on that nice walnut veneer, so take some time to mask that off. You don't want to drive a brad nail through it either. You'll need a bunch of clamps. You don't want to put those clamps directly on the veneer. It's a very soft material. The clamp will leave a dent, so grab some scrap material. Here I'm using the extra baffle that I cut earlier. Depending on the temperature and the humidity, you can clamp for as little as 30 minutes, but it won't hurt to just leave these clamped up overnight. The veneering process for the sides of the boxes is exactly the same as the process for the baffle. Cut the veneer and apply the heat lock adhesive to both sides. Wait for it to dry and then lock it in place with a hot iron. It's a little more complicated since you have to wrap it around the curves. That wasn't exactly easy. Well, that worked and it didn't work at the same time. I ended up with a little bit of a problem. You can see right here, I've got a gap and I attempted to seal that gap with super glue. It did not work very well on this piece with the double rounding. It worked a little better down here. This one had a similar problem, a little bit of gap that I hit with some super glue. Hopefully that will not show up in the finish. This one turned out great. Very happy with this one. So now I've got a hard choice to make. Do I say the hell with it and take the stuff that doesn't look good and just rip the veneer off and try again? If I was making it to sell to somebody, obviously these things get scrapped or at least the veneer ripped off and we try again. If you were buying them from somebody, you absolutely should expect them to be perfect. But sometimes when you make things yourself, you just have to live with the imperfections. Just part of life. As for me, I have to crank out a YouTube video every week or so, and if I don't, the algorithm punishes the hell out of me. So I don't have a choice. I can't wait for more adhesive and more veneer to show up in the mail. I gotta try to make it work. That's why I always invite you to join me over on Patreon. Fan support frees up content creators from the social media algorithms, and it leads to a better fan experience for everybody. So thank you to all of my patrons, with a big bonus shout out to Jonathan Bowe, Timothy, JD Verica, Joaquin, and Taylor. When you sign up for a year up front, you get 10% off of your membership, so join today. The backs and bottoms are getting a textured finish, and the rest of the enclosure is getting an oil finish. This product here is called Rubio Monocoat. You mix the oil with an accelerator to speed up the curing process, and it is stupid easy to use. You just wipe it, buff it, and then come back in about 30 minutes to wipe off the excess oil. Even though it is called monocoat, the instructions say you should give it a second coat. I found that you don't need a second coat. For the crossover, the instructions are provided with the plans. This project was originally designed by Toys DIY. He sells the plans for these things on his website. I'll give you a link down in the video description. Don't wire the crossovers up at this stage in the game. Instead, you should rewind and go back to the previous steps where you were standing around waiting on glue to dry. That's when you want to wire up the crossover. Let's pop in the drivers and see how it looks. I'm really thrilled with the way this thing looks. I've made something that no one else has. And that's what I like about DIY speaker building. I can add some custom touches to a project and I can build a speaker that nobody else has. It's a one of a kind. Now, what really makes this unique from an audio perspective is that small driver in the center. That is a BMR, a balance mode radiator. Now, I don't know why these things have not taken over the entire industry. It's a dual mode driver that acts like a piston and like a vibrating panel. This gives it a very wide dispersion for unparalleled off-axis performance, plus it has a very wide frequency response. That lets you cross the tweeter over at a very low frequency, so low that the woofers on the side aren't going to suffer from comb filtering. Your typical center channel sounds great right in front of it, but as you get off axis, you end up getting comb filtering, which colors the sound. The combination of the BMR and the crossover design creates a nice wide soundstage where no matter where you're sitting in the room, the speaker is going to sound great. The dark walnut veneer and the Rubio monocoat is an awesome combination. You really should give it a try. I'm Justin. This is the DIY Audio Guy YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next adventure.